And oh, I can't find my countdown. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry. Well, hello, folks, and thank you very much, Venerable Wayne Hughes, for joining us today. It's such an honour, and I'm quite excited about it. And also, thank you very much, Simus, for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you both. And we have in the chat, we have Scott Duke. Hi, Scott. Please feel free to click on the link and join us if you've got time, Scott. Okay, I'll just start off with a brief introduction. Venerable Wayne Hughes suggested we just call him Wayne, which is very kind of him. I think I've given a description, a formal description in the video link. You're an ordained Buddhist monk in the order of Pragmatic Buddhists and founder and co-director of the Engaged Dharma Insight Group and director of Intentional Practice. And please forgive me for my cat in the background there. So I thought we would start, Venerable Wayne, if you don't mind just speaking a bit about how you first came across Buddhism. I know you're based in America, down in one of the southern states, am I correct?
Actually in Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, so pretty much right in the middle of the U.S. Yeah, so right smack dab in the middle. So anyway, thank you for inviting me to this. This is kind of exciting for me. I've never done a live stream myself. So years ago, when I was in my 40s, I was having a pretty tumultuous time in my life, like so many of us have at some point or another. That whole dukkha thing we like to talk about in Buddhism, suffering. I didn't know that's what it was then, of course. And during this time, I happened to be sitting at a friend's house, and we were talking about things friends talk about, troubles we're having, good times we're having. And I'm a big reader, always have been, and whenever anybody's bookshelf is nearby, I've got to look at the titles of the books on the shelf.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot about someone. And I looked up on the shelf, and I saw this book. I don't have the slip cover anymore, but it was a bright, like blue and orange slip cover, and it said, The Teaching of Buddha. And I thought, well, that looks interesting. I knew who Buddha was, but that was about it. I pulled it off the shelf. And it's actually a book that is donated by the Society for the the Promotion of Buddhism.
Yeah.
It's the Bukkyo Dendo Koyakai. I probably butchered.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this beautiful little black book. And by the way, anybody can get one of these. As what I understand, they give them away for free if you just contact that particular society. And I took it down off the shelf while we were chatting, and I opened it up to just a random page. I just flipped it open. And I want to read the first thing that I read on this.
Yes, please.
It says, because I still have it marked today, I still have it marked. It says, this parable teaches that even a good thing, when it becomes an unnecessary burden, should be thrown away. Much more so if it is a bad thing. Buddha made it the rule of his life to avoid useless and unnecessary discussions. Well, at that point, like I said, it was a pretty tumultuous time in my life. I was trying to hold something together that I thought was good to hold together, but I seemed to have been the only one. And so it was a burden. And so that brought me to reading why it said that in the first place. And I want to read the parable because it's kind of important.
Yes.
Once there was a man on a long journey who came to a river. He said to himself, "This side of the river is very difficult and dangerous to walk on, and the other side seems easier and safer. But how shall I get across?" So he built a raft out of branches and reeds and safely crossed the river. Then he thought to himself, "This raft has been very useful to me in crossing the river. I will not abandon it to rot on the bank, but will carry it along with me." And thus he voluntarily assumed an unnecessary burden. Can this man be called a wise man? Well, most of us, we don't carry rafts on our shoulders or have to build them to cross rivers, but we kind of have to build rafts with our mind sometimes to get across the tumultuous rapids of life that we might have to get across. And so I was hanging on to something that I felt if I didn't hang on, it would just sweep me away in that torrent. So this opened up my eyes to a different way of thinking. It opened up my mind to a different way of thinking of just because I think it's good, has it become an unnecessary burden? And then, like most of us Westerners, I became a book Buddhist for a few years after that, where I was reading everything I could find about Buddhism. What was it? What's meditation? But at that time, I never went out to look for a teacher. And I think that happens to a lot of us Western Buddhists. We start out as book Buddhists. To this day, I know people that will say, Thich Nhat Hanh is my teacher. And you'll say, "Oh, well, where did you study with him?" "Oh, I just read all his books," which is great. It's great to read Master Han's books. Absolutely. You can learn a lot. You can practice a lot from them. But in the end, if you don't go find a teacher that can actually present these things to you in a different way, it's good, but it's not as good as it could be. So that's how I opened up my mind, my body mind, if you will, to Buddhism as a practice and as a way of life, as a way of living. Then time went by, of course, and I started looking for a teacher. And I credit my lady, Mary, who I've been with now for almost 20 years. She was in France working, but she happened to be looking online, and she saw a teacher here in St. Louis that I had never been to see. And she said, "Why don't you go check this Jim Eubanks out?" I said, "Okay, I'll go do that." Well, from the first time I sat with this particular teacher, I had the feeling that I had found my root teacher. And as time would show, I went under him and was trained and eventually ordained as a Buddhist priest. And in 2010 went on to teaching on my own. I will say I am no longer officially connected with CPB and OPB, OPB being the Order of Pragmatic Buddhists, and CPB being the Center for Pragmatic Buddhism. But I heartily recommend the group to folks that are looking for a more Western way of approaching Buddhism.
Okay.
Hope that was enough.
Yes, thank you very much. That was really interesting. I would just want to welcome. Hold on, I've got a bit of an echo. 1 second. I'll sort out my audio. Sorry. Yes, I'd just like to welcome Speed of Sound, or Answers in the Atheism channel.
Hello.
Hi.
I hope I'm not echoing.
I think we're fine now.
Yeah. So I missed the beginning. I was in a conversation that I couldn't get out of. So I missed the beginning from let's see, what is it? V Hughes? What is your first name?
Wayne.
It's
okay.
Yeah. Please just call me Wayne. That's fine.
Wayne. Okay. Anyway, so I'm a Ellen Watts sort of American psychological Buddhist or secular Buddhist, and I kind of run the Ellen Watts line. So, and I do not know a lot about doctrine at all or dogma, and have not, gotten into it in the way a lot of people do. But I consider myself a secular Buddhist and an atheist, oddly enough. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from, and I'm not sure what you think of us psychological Zen Buddhists or Zen Buddhist types, but I thought it would be an interesting conversation. So that's about all I get.
Yeah, if I could just touch on the atheism and Buddhism thing, just really quick. It really depends on how you practice Buddhism. If you practice it as a religion, right? If that's how you approach it, then you've got the theism involved and all that. Looking at the Buddha in a different light. The way I practice it as a pragmatic Buddhist is this is a way of life, right? This is a belief system,
right?
So atheism, you can certainly be an atheist and a Buddhist if you're just practicing Buddhism as a lifestyle, as a belief system.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But I would have to say myself, I consider myself more an agnostic Buddhist.
Okay.
From a pragmatic perspective, because I don't really know if there's a God. I have no earthly idea if there is somebody like that up there that's controlling all that and everything. So as a pragmatic Buddhist, that agnostic view says I can set it aside because it doesn't affect how I'm going to choose to live.
Right.
But if a cloud appears over my head and a big golden hand comes out of it and taps me on top of the head, I might have to rethink that.
Oh, hell, me too.
So that way you leave your options open. As an agnostic, you can say, just because I haven't experienced it yet doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah.
And so when I experience it, then I can say, oh, well, now I may have to change my view. Because we're always willing to change our worldview if our experience shows us that it's a viable change. Correct.
Well, Watts would describe adopting a religion like in Beyond Theology. He explained how you could be a Buddhist and then become a Christian. And in fact, me and my friend did that for one summer when we were 16 years old. We became Christians for the summer, and we immersed ourselves in the belief. And so Watts describes it as what cloak you put on. And then when you're done with it, you cast off the cloak. And so naturalism and all of that could be thought of as just another cloak. And that's the cloak I wear. So this ultimate naturalism. But it was really interesting when we immersed ourselves in Catholicism is what we chose for that summer. We had amazing experiences, and we saw synchronicity everywhere. And we were 99% believers, but we had a pull string. So in September, we decided we abandoned it. We took the cloak off and we quit being Catholics. So it was interesting, an interesting experience, I think, of the mind. But while we were doing it, we saw things, that were amazing. I mean, explainable, of course. There was nothing inexplicable or totally supernatural. But I mean, there was synchronicity and things that we found with that religion that gave me some respect for it. So anyway.
Well, you can look to Thomas Merton, and I mean, you couldn't get much more Catholic than Thomas Merton, but at the same time, he had a great respect for what Buddhism, and not only Buddhism, but a lot of other religions around the world had to offer also. And you too saw what you were talking about, that synchronicity between the two. Yeah, and I think we can find that in most belief systems that are headed for a wholesome or positive goal. Yeah, if that's what they're headed for. I think synchronicity can be found across many religious belief systems.
Yeah, the other part of my backstory is the way I got into this. My friend told me about beyond theology. When I was about to turn 16, so it was on December 24th, and I was reading the book at 9:30 at night, and I had what amounted to a grand mal spiritual experience that lasted for 3 days. That completely changed the course of my life. And I was an atheist prior, I was an atheist during, and I was an atheist after. That had nothing to do with it. But something happened to my mind that made everything light up like glowing, and made everything in my life explicable. And I became completely at peace with a very, very bad situation with an adolescent living in an alcoholic household. And it was the most amazing experience. And I've ended up chasing that experience for the first half of my life, and somewhat finding it in the last 14 years. So but that's how I got into it. I'm 70 now, so my life stretches out a bit. Anyway.
I'm right there with you. I'm pretty close in that cohort. I turned 65 this year.
Okay.
I think we're pretty close in cohort there.
Isn't it great to be able to look back from this great distance?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Well said. I just want to say hello to some people in the chat. We've got a lovely crowd at the moment. We've got Scott Duke. We've got Ox, we've got Tobin Templeman, we've got Ivan Van Veen, we've got Elf Biter, who's followed us from Second Life. Wonderful to see you, Elf Biter. Who else have we got? We've got the African humanist in the chat, who has got a really fascinating and interesting channel herself. I quite often pop in there. And we've got Laurie Hayes. Hi, Laurie. And we've got Raw. I think that's Raw, the Time Traveller. So we've got a lovely crowd in the chat at the moment. Thank you all for turning up. It's been a great opportunity to introduce Wayne to you all, who I first came across at the virtual Buddha Center in Second Life, and I did a sort of short video about that on my channel that you can check out. So there we go. Sorry, I didn't read. I hope I haven't interrupted the flow of conversation there.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I say welcome to all those folks, too. And like you said, Elf Biter has been part of the Engaged Dharma Sangha there at the Buddha Center for a long time. So a shout out to Elf Biter from me, too.
Just as a matter of interest, I wondered if you'd like to see a very short video of the monastery I was at in Scotland. I think we mentioned it earlier today, Wayne, on during your session when we were talking about Chogyam Trungpa and Pema Chodron. So I'll just see if I can just quickly share my screen.
Yes.
It's just a very short video. It's quite a beautiful place, and I just wanted to show people what it looked like. So if you just bear with me. Sorry, we're having some technical problems. I'll stop sharing at the moment. I think I've lost which screen I'm in. Sorry. Just carry on speaking without me until I manage to figure this out.
Oh, excuse me.
So, sorry, folks.
Yeah, well, while you look for that, there is also a place in the U.S. That Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche also developed, which is the Shambhala Mountain Center in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado, which I can only highly recommend to any Buddhists across the U.S. that get a chance to go there. It's just a wonderful place to not only be a Buddhist, but just to be a human being. They have hundreds of acres of land, a beautiful stupa, and really great people that are there from all across the world, and all different Buddhist traditions and all different religious traditions are out there. So it's just a very nice place to go and visit. I don't have videos, I only have pictures, and I don't know how to put them up here. So.
Okay, I think I've found it. So I'll just start playing the video now. So Sameling Tibetan Buddhist Monastery was built in Scotland in the early 1960s by the Tibetan Lamas who escaped from Tibet. It's based in a valley called Eskdale Muir. There's music playing in the video, but I won't play the music just for copyright reasons. So it covers a vast area of the valley, and this is just gives you an idea of all the sort of lakes and statues and buildings. And there should be a video of that's the stupa. It's just coming up now. So I spent a year as a volunteer at the monastery. I had intended in becoming a Buddhist nun at that time, but for various reasons, I didn't actually go through with the ordination, but I carried on working in the community as a volunteer. And I was really very happy there. And it was such a wonderful experience. There were a lot of Tibetans there. You can just see the gardens at the moment. It's quite remote. It's the nearest town is Eskdale Muir. Sorry, Lockerbie. And that's just an aerial shot of the main temple. It's a complete replica of a Tibetan Buddhist monastery that you would find in Tibet. And that's the entranceway. So it's quite a large complex, and they actually train Buddhist monks and nuns. And we're just seeing the gardens there.
Oh, it looks lovely.
I had a lot of jobs there. I loved it.
I believe this was the first complex that Chogyam Rinpoche started.
Yes.
In Tibet.
Yes.
It's really expanded over the years, you can certainly tell.
Yes, along with Akon Tulku Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe Lasal, who's currently the abbot, of the monastery. And that's the main temple there. So it's amazing that this is in Scotland.
I noticed the golfing umbrella by the front door. You can tell it's Scotland.
And those are the prayer wheels. The Om Mani Padme Hum chant. And that's Chenrezig, the Buddha of compassion. So Tibetan Buddhism seems to be quite different from pragmatic Buddhism. So I'll stop. I think that's the end of the video now. Akon Tulku Rinpoche, yes, that was the founder.
That's a beautiful place. I often wonder if where they have it in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado, the Shambhala Mountain Center, if over the decades it will expand like that and become larger than it is now. But it's also a beautiful spot. Look it up, Google it.
So
I was looking. Sorry, go ahead.
I just Googled Buddhist temples in Minnesota, and it says that North America's largest Buddhist temple is in Hampton, Minnesota. That's interesting, but
yeah, you'd never guess, would you?
No. Because I'll go ahead, Eden.
I know. I was just going to ask Wayne. I do recall that you'd mentioned at some point that you'd visited prisoners in prisons to speak about, was it meditation?
Oh no, that wasn't me.
Oh, that wasn't.
No, that wasn't me. That's but someone that I know here in St. Louis. That's what.
Right. Okay.
Prison chaplaincy. But no, that's something that I've never been able to do myself. Actually, once I found Second Life in the Buddha Center, that has been my Buddhist outreach ever since. So that has been my focus as a teacher, is sharing the Dharma there.
Could you just explain Dharma just briefly to those that may not, including myself, that may not know really what that is?
Well, that's one of those interesting words that if you have it a capital D Dharma, people look at that as the specific teachings of the Buddha. And then the small d Dharma is just the reality of life as we live it. Whether we acknowledge the reality or not, Dharma is just how the world operates around us, and us operating within it. So it really depends on how you're looking at the word Dharma. Again, capital D, we usually look at the teachings of the Buddha. Small d, it's just reality. It's just the reality that we have to find ourselves living within.
Okay. I thought it was. Okay. Again, my ignorance here. Please don't be offended. But I thought there was something a little more philosophical to it in terms of. Really, it struck me when I first heard about it that was at the heart of pragmatism, in that there was a sense of acceptance, if you like, of the hardships of life. Am I a million miles away?
Oh no, and that's certainly part of it. And I guess I should probably say this for me too, is I have never been a philosophy student. So the philosophy that I know, like from Richard Rorty and folks like that, is whatever is directly connected with what I learned as a pragmatic Buddhist when I was studying with the Order of Pragmatic Buddhism with my teacher. So my knowledge of that philosophy is very specific to what we needed in order to share the Dharma as we share it. So
right,
there's going to be some levels of the depths of the philosophy I would probably get pretty caught up in.
Okay, well, let's not get down that road.
Yeah.
if we can, then.
Yeah.
But if you could explain what the idea behind Dharma is, or what that kind of means to you in a more specific or more.
Well, yeah. What it means specifically to me, because I look at this as the main focus is practice, how we bring a Buddhist practice to our life each day. So, of course, I use the capital D Dharma of the Buddha as my guide through that, the whole Four Ennobling Truths, Eightfold Path kind of thing. But then I look at the little d Dharma as those things that I have to deal with, the realities of life that I have to deal with on a daily basis, or a moment-to-moment basis, if you will, whether I accept that they're reality or not. And that's where the issue can come in. If you're trying to deny a reality and then work within that denial, things don't often go too well. So you really have to look at the reality or the Dharma of the situation and accept that that's what it is before you can work within it with any effectiveness. And that's kind of also the pragmatic Buddhist way of looking at it too, is we want to do things and learn things that are useful and productive, things that we can actually make part of how we interact with both ourselves and with the world around us.
Right, I see. And just as a follow-up for me then on that kind of topic, what significance or symbolism do the pillars have themselves? I mean, I seem to remember Dharma was connected in India with specific pillars that were built.
Was this the 4 pillars of wisdom, or is that something
I'm not
else?
sure it is. I think it's something different.
Yeah, I have my sound on. Sometimes I'm not sure. The only image of pillars that I can think of is in the iconography of the Buddha, before there was any figurative sculptures or anything or drawings made of the Buddha, that a pillar was one of the ways of representing the Buddha or representing his teachings. Beyond that, I'm not sure about significance of pillars other than that.
No, I think that might be what I'm referring to, actually.
Yeah, because they usually had the colonnade at the top a little bit, and
that's right.
Yeah, and so that was a representation of the Buddha before they began figurative representations, or full body or head or face or whatever. And as far as I know, that didn't happen until the artists in Gandhara mixed Buddhism and Greek sculpture together.
Ah, okay, I see.
Just highlight. Oh, sorry, Simon. I thought you'd finished.
No, well, I mean, I've always got more questions, so you can interrupt me at any time. Just when historically, when did the Buddha live?
Let's see if I remember correctly. I believe it was around 486 BC, but there's so many different opinions of that, or different ideas of when it is. And while I know that those dates are important to a lot of folks, I don't know if the dates are as important as what actually happened. So whether it was 486 or even 586 or somewhere around in those areas, the important thing is it's a reality, something that happened that we can look back to.
Yeah. And presumably it's the lessons that were learned and the teachings that came from those lessons that are the crucial thing. Yeah. Okay,
again, it was the whole idea of pragmatism. If you can remember the date, that's wonderful. If you can't remember the date, at least remember the event and the experience, because that is really what impacts both your knowledge and your practice.
Thank you, Wild. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, sorry. I just wanted to say welcome, Lady Midnight Sparkle, to the panel. Hi there. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing fine.
Good. And I just posted a question, Wayne. I don't know if you'd be able to answer the question from Dessel. Do you hold to the doctrine of no self?
Absolutely. The only difference is we kind of add a T to it. We call it not self. That's more to remind us of the ever-changing self that we have to deal with. So there's not a permanent self, and that's just a language thing that we use to make it more understandable, I guess. But yeah, the doctrine of no self or not self is extremely important in how we practice, because not self is just the idea that there is no permanence to what we have. It is all, we are a causal conditioned being, if you will. A lot of different things come together to make us who we are. And because of that, we can mind mediate the changes that we want to make within ourselves because there's nothing permanent. So we have this opportunity to become more generous or become more compassionate, or at the same time become less generous or less compassionate. So not self just says you have the opportunity to change yourself. You can either let it happen, let's call it organically, without any control, and see what you get, or you can mind mediate those changes and at least in a positive direction.
I would say I would say that that is what it says in Buddha. I would say that I would put it in more in the sense that yourself is dynamic. It always changes. There is a core to who you are, but that core is adaptable to the environment. You know what I mean? Like you can have you can have a core personality of being introverted, but that's not all you are. You know what I mean? An introvert can easily become an extrovert. If the opportunity calls for it. You know what I mean? Is that making sense or no?
Sure. Oh no, and there are many people that hold to that particular view, that there is some absolute core at the center. For most Buddhist practices, I think we try to not hold that view because, again, it could keep people from trying to do something. If they say, no, I've decided this is permanent within me, that they would not make the attempt to change.
Well, and that sorry to interrupt you, and that really fills me with sadness because just because you hold the view that there is a self, it doesn't mean that self can't change. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I hold the view that it's a not self. That yes, everything about us can be changed, except unless you have some physical things, that are attached to your DNA and all that, which we can't change. But when it comes to the way we are, the way we act, the way we interact with ourselves and the world around us, there's nothing of that can't be changed with enough effort, concentration, and mindfulness.
Yep, meditation rules.
You mentioned mindfulness there, and that's always something which is
that's why I said meditation rules.
Yeah, sure. That's always something that intrigues me. Could you just give me some idea of what you mean by mindfulness? If there is such an explanation, I don't know if there is. Or not.
Well, there's so many deep explanations that you can dive into and get really deep. But as far as practice goes, it's just trying to stay, I'm going to use the word aware of what's happening moment to moment within your life. So it's just trying to be aware that when things change or when they need to change or what's going on, in your immediate surroundings, and also that more encompassing broader surroundings that you have. I want to say a bit about moment, because moment, it can be intimidating to folks when they first think about Buddhism, this idea that I have to be mindful in every moment, and moments go by really fast. Ehai Dogen kind of said, well, think about the snap of a finger as a moment. But moments are also things that happen over a period of a year can be a moment. Somebody who is dealing with a cancer diagnosis, they suddenly find themselves in this moment of having cancer. So that is one moment that they have to deal with from the time they get the diagnosis till whenever. But then other moments we have within those moments. So being mindful in moments can be difficult, because you're trying to stay mindful of this moment, like right what we're doing right now, but I also have to be mindful of the broader moments that I'm in. I hope that made sense.
Sense, obviously, yeah. It sounds like a bit of a paradox or a
Well,
contradiction.
no. Well, basically, it means focus on the
I know what it
now.
means, dude. I'm not.
I'm not saying it. I was just. Go ahead, Simon. Never mind.
Thanks. You know, but obviously it sounds like a contradiction to keep one moment in mind over a broader timescale. So how do you mean in terms of? You know, I assume you mean understanding the predicament or the situation that one finds oneself in and adapting to what is, I don't know, what is most beneficial for oneself, I guess.
Yeah,
spiritually, I mean.
I guess I've always looked at moments as there are different lengths of moments, and some fit within others. I'll try to give an example here. From the moment that I read the passage in this little book on Buddhism until today, that is a moment of when I became a Buddhist. So during all this moment, I've been a Buddhist. But within that broader moment are moments along the way, like a moment when I was learning something in particular from my teacher till I finally learned it. That was a moment. But then there's also the moment that the sunlight is coming through my window right now and really warming up the room. That's just a moment that I have to interact with, that's within that broader moment. So it's just a way of taking moments and looking at them in a different way. Because otherwise somebody gets stuck in this idea of, oh, this is a moment, and then this next thing is a moment. And they find it difficult to focus or to concentrate.
Yeah, they overlap, and kind of like it's kind of a dance. But the thing about your mind is that your mind is already a swath of time that maybe consists of about 200 milliseconds to a second. That's just how your mind works. And so we're sweeping through time in this with this brush, and it's kind of a broad brush. But that is an interesting perspective on moments, though, that I did not have before. Thank you. That's pretty cool.
So what are we trying to preference in that respect then? Are you saying something like, if when we concentrate on the individual moments, then we become too focused on the distractions of life? And so therefore we really ought to see the long game, as it were, and see this moment as a goal to reach?
Yeah, the distractions is what it's all about.
It seems difficult because it's that was the phrase we use in the West. It's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, I think there's like the question that Dessel asked about self. You deal with that concept of self, okay, in your sort of upper rational conceptual mind, okay. And how you think of it affects your whole being, how you operate and how you, the things you feel and how you interact. And when you chip away at that idea of self and you see it from a better perspective, I think a more naturalistic perspective in that it's only just a brief moment and it's always changing, that sort of thing, then you tend to chip away at the self, right? And it's the same thing with this mindfulness, is staying out of the or not spending all of our time in this conceptual dialogue in the head area, and rather feeling what's the life that we're in. And we tend to get, like, I get sick if I do nothing but rationalize or run voices inside my head, run dialogues inside my head. As soon as I stop that and say halt and go out and feel the air and, just the sun and whatever else, I feel better. So it's kind of like, I think it's pretty simple. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it's simple or not. I think if it was simple, there would be a lot less war, a lot less strife in the world. So it's always struck me as being hard to achieve, but yet deceptively simple to attain.
Exactly.
I think-
That's why I always like to say to people, yes, this is a simple thing when you think about it, but it is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. Could we just go over a couple of the questions quickly, because there seemed. Well,
Yes,
if you want to do
yes,
that,
yes, please.
go ahead,
Yes,
please. You're the one asking questions.
Sorry, a question, Wayne, from Dessel again. Should an enlightened one return from nirvana to liberate all sentient beings or to eliminate suffering? This goes into more sort of the Buddhist philosophy.
Yeah, into the Mahayana Buddhist.
Yes, yes.
When you're talking about that. Well, I can only say this. If it was me, which, look, I don't consider myself, I don't think I'll ever be enlightened, as they say, in that way. But if it was my choice, I would say, absolutely, I want to go back. I want to help liberate all sentient beings. But it becomes a choice. And that would be a choice that whoever had found themselves in nirvana would have to make for themselves. I can only speak from a personal viewpoint on that and say, absolutely, I'd want to come back. Even though I would know, of course, the suffering that would have to be endured and the joy and everything that would have to be endured to do it, it would be such a worthy thing to do. But again, I can't speak for anybody else but me.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible that somebody could return from nirvana? I mean, isn't that beyond? Once you've achieved enlightenment, haven't you gone beyond the rebirth cycle?
And that is what tradition tells us. Yeah, That's exactly right. But I think they were presenting a what if kind of thing,
right?
Like Marvel Comics used to do. What if Spider-Man wore red or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a very Christian orientated question in that. There was
come from that type of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should warn you about Dessel. He's my resident Buddhist hater for my channel, and I just want to say this about him: he's always wrong.
Oh no, not Trace. He's a very, very intelligent person. I know.
I know. We kid each other.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
I was just going to pop in that the Tibetan Buddhist teachers at Samiling always said that the movie that was closest to reality was Groundhog Day.
That's actually my favorite movie of all time.
They would play it over and over again in the monastery cafe.
Yeah, I can see that now. I think about the thought, the fact he becomes more and more perfect over every day relived.
I watched that movie about 15 times, and I can't watch it anymore because I start to choke up when I see the opening credits. It had an impact on me. I don't know why, but it did.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember that.
Yeah.
Thought it was very wholesome.
Wholesome, yes.
Yes. Good for one's soul. I don't exactly know what that means, but so
we just
Elfbiter.
lost midnight. Sorry, Elfbiter is he's a regular attender at the Buddha Center in Second Life. He's been attending for a very long time.
Okay, nice. So as far as rationalism goes, reason is a tool. It's also been used to support harmful ideologies. It supports good and bad. That's true. Yeah.
It can also be a bad habit.
Like most tools.
So you mentioned, when you mentioned doing something every day, about 15 minutes back, to as a practice, and I forget how you put it exactly, but I'm interested in that. What is that? What do you do pragmatically?
Oh, are you speaking what type of practice? I'm not sure what I said 15 minutes ago, so you might have to.
You said you do something in the practice every day, or you do something like once a day anyway, and then of course then there's the rest of your life that you deal with. And I forget in what context you said it, but
I think there I was speaking of meditation being on the cushion versus being off the cushion for the rest.
Okay.
We meditation is such a focus, and it should be. Absolutely, meditation is something that's very important in a Buddhist practice. But I have always felt that equanimity of practice in the things that we do off the cushion too. And I just find so much focus being put on meditation in especially a lot of Buddhist books and stuff like that, that sometimes we need to be reminded that Buddhism is beyond just meditation, that we actually have to be, as my teacher would say, you've got to be the same Buddhist on your cushion as you are off your cushion.
Yeah.
Which is not always easy to do, given what we have to deal with in life.
So I'm tempted to go to one of these monasteries or retreats to go, because in the next, from now until the end of my life, what I want to do is go further. And I've got a couple of plans for that. One is not a popular plan, especially for an alcoholic. But the other one is to do something. What would I expect? I guess I'm kind of afraid to go to one of these things because I have never been.
So are you speaking of a long meditation retreat, like say 3 to 7 days, or maybe even?
Yeah, that or one of the, or just going to one of these temples to, just to see what I can do. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do something.
Well, what I would recommend is wherever you live in this world, find 3 or 4 different Buddhist, call them temples or whatever you want to call them in your area, and go and visit them. And just talk to the people, and with that, you might find a place where you would feel comfortable with doing more and getting more experience with it.
Okay.
I find the one thing that I would do no matter where I went was I would just ask as many questions as I could.
Yeah.
Whether I thought they would be not, I hate to use the word dumb or don't like using dumb questions, but that's what people like to say. Whether you think it's a dumb question or not doesn't matter. Ask the question.
Yeah.
Because if they're ready and willing to answer your questions and be very welcoming about it, then that's definitely a place that you want to talk to more. Because frankly, there are some folks that you go and ask them questions, they're really not that interested in answering, it seems. So all Buddhists are human beings, right? So we all have our idiosyncrasies and stuff.
Yep. I found a few locally.
I know the thing that I really enjoy doing when I go to any place is to just ask, where's your meditation area? And just go sit in their meditation area for, say, 10 minutes. Not necessarily meditating, but just sitting there, because I think it's their meditation hall where you can really start to get the feel for what that particular temple or that particular building is like. What the people are like within it, too, can often be felt there.
Okay. I just have this aggravating fear that they're going to throw me out.
Oh, no. Well,
they should.
They're only going to throw you out dependent on your actions. So as long as you're a nice guy and you're, talking to them nicely, I think they'd be pleased to have you wander around and ask questions.
Okay. I think I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Please let us know how you get on, Speed.
I will.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah.
With this crazy YouTube universe that I've entered, my mind is spinning way too fast lately. And I wouldn't mind going to a spot to slow it down a bit.
Yeah.
And consider the evil of my ways.
I don't think there's such a thing as evil. The concept of evil in Buddhism, is there?
It's just an expression that my mom's boyfriend used to use on me. Consider the evil of your ways. I always thought about it. I have to buzz off in about 5 minutes and start the weather report. So
yes, Speed's got his own channel.
Apologies for that.
I'll wrap this up in about 4 minutes anyway. We've been going for an hour, and I don't want to take up too much of Wayne's time. But it's been absolutely wonderful having you here, Wayne.
Oh, and I'm very much enjoying. We're happy to come back and sit in on another.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to meet you, and I would love if Wild Eden could hook us up privately because I have questions.
Sure. Oh yeah, she's welcome to do that. She knows all my contact information.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind sending me an invite, Speed, I would appreciate that as well. I think you've got my email, so.
Yep. You mean to the weather report?
Yeah, of course. I haven't been on for a little while, so I'd like to come on and say hi.
Yeah, we'll have you in. We got a few things to do, and then we'll have you in. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
And I tell you what, you've got me wondering. Weather report?
Oh, it's just.
It's a great name, isn't it?
we're geneticists and molecular biologists, and we fight against young Earth creationists.
Okay.
And we have this crazy community where there's just all manner of craziness going on as far as one side criticizing the other and going back and forth. And I do this weather report that sort of sums up what's happened in the community every day, or 5 days a week. So I call it the weather report. Don't watch it. No one should watch it.
Now that means people are going to go watch it, right?
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not very good at advertising, promoting my channel. No one should watch my content. Anyway.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
And on that note, thank you everybody for being here. I've really enjoyed it. And I think Scott suggested this would be a weekly thing, but I know Wayne's got quite a busy schedule. But I'm certainly happy to do this more regularly.
Oh, absolutely. And we make it a schedule where I have open time. We'll just put it in my schedule and make it happen.
That would be great. I have a lot more questions. So.
Oh, don't we all?
I only scratched the surface there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Simus. Your input has been really good. Thank you.
And it's nice meeting you both, Simus, Speed,
and you, Wayne.
Very nice meeting you.
Thank you for having me on, Eden. And I'm going to drop off.
Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Okay. Later.
I think I'll just end the broadcast now. It seems to be a natural point. And
maybe there's some kind of what do they call them? Chant? No, it's not a chant. It's a what's the word I'm looking for here?
Of a mantra?
Yeah, a mantra. Thank you. Maybe there's a mantra that could be ended on.
What about the Bodhisattva vow that you usually end your teaching sessions?
Are you talking about sharing the merit?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
We can do a sharing the merit.
Do that.
It's showing our gratitude and generosity, practicing the way of awareness, which gives rise to benefits without limit. We vow to share these benefits of our practice, service, and gifts with all beings. Let us be reminded that a life of engagement and compassion is supremely important. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Oh, wow, the last part went right out of my head. So we'll end it there. For some reason, the last part went right out of my head. I do it every day, and I still don't remember it all the time. So.
It's been a long day. Thank you again, Wayne. It's been wonderful having you here.
Everybody take care.
Okay. And thank you, everybody in the chat.
Later.
Bye.
Bye, folks. Bye.